Good afternoon, Mr. Edwards.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
Wonderful.
And thank you for being here.
Yes.
Well, we're going to start by asking you, as we have all the other candidates, did you support the city in the first time around?
Mm-hmm.
And did you support the city this time around? Mm-hmm. And if so, why? And if not, why?
Okay. Good question. In 2007, when the city was first formed, my comments was, I do not support the city now. Let me tell you why. During that time as your commissioner, the bubble had burst on the real estate market. Also during that time, to keep our services, to maintain our level of service, I had to raise the taxes in South Fulton County 3 times just to do that. I didn't think that the message for the city was put out there properly in terms of the community understanding what was going on. Classic example, when it was first put out, they said there was only two options when there really was 3. So the message, the giving of the message was not good. But the most important thing is, had it gone that year with the kind of economic backlash we were having in the county, it would have been very, very difficult.
So what were the options that you saw, and what was the third one that was left out?
All right. The option that they posed was to go to Atlanta, to be a part of the city, and third that was not the issue was to stay with Fulton County government. That was the one that was not put out there. Now, this time, I have been very, very impressed with the kind of presentation that's been put out by the community organizations in terms of notifying people of what they're doing, how they're doing it, bringing community together, putting up committees, and then rallying behind the point that this could be a wonderful city. So what I did was, not only did I get involved with it, I raised money. I raised money to the tune of about $15,000 to support them in terms of getting their message out, in terms of the mail and things of that nature. I also was, on the day of the election, I was out making sure that people were supposed to be. I was on the corners holding up signs, and I participated in all 3 individual groups to make the city what it is. And so as a result of that, I thought it was an excellent campaign, much more than I could ever dream of, and hence we have a city today.
So did you feel as though the third option was truly an option to stay the same?
It wasn't real. It's not the fact that the third option was the true option to remain the same. It was just telling people what their options were, what the truth was. I mean, don't leave something out. Even though it may not be good, the truth is that there were 3 options, and people were saying 2. So you can't make a decision if someone's giving you partial information.
Okay. We want to ask everybody about the vision
Sure.
for this city. Think 4 years down the road, okay? You've been the mayor now for 4 years.
Sure.
And you're giving your State of the City address. Okay, you're giving your State of the City address. What are you telling us?
I'm telling you this, that in 4 years, not only have we created a city, but we have created a destination place. What do I mean? That people of race, creed, color, whatever it can be, come to this place because we have everything that you want. We have weathered the storm. We are financially stable. Our public services, such as fire, police, and others, have grown to the point where people come here to live, work, and play. They feel secure in what they do. That our people are wholesome, our schools are good, and our communities in terms of roads and sidewalks and streets, that we've made a diligent effort into ensuring the quality of life has been risen, and hence this city has been one of the best cities in the country.
Okay.
But before you get to that point, Bill, there's a critical step, and that's the transition from the county to the cityhood. Share with us, because all of our districts cover the new city of South Fulton.
Sure.
Share with us your transition plan, 3 or 4 activities or actions you would do in terms of your transition plan.
Okay, as commissioner during my tenure, I have helped transition 5 of the cities that are here today. One of the important things is that we make sure that the infrastructure for the city is taken care of. What do I mean by that? Give you a classic example, IT. IT is very, very important in terms of a city. It has to be in place at the time we go in. Equipment, such as build Fulton County facilities is another item. When we did Sandy Springs, we sold fire stations for $5,000 a piece. But those are big considerations when you're going into the city. And if there's any, in terms of financial, what money is owed to who? That's always a big issue in cities in the transition. SSD money, general fund money, is there any two, they mix on anything? Because whenever you take general fund money and put it with SSD money, which you should supposed to do, but it happens. And when time for transition, you must pay the general fund indebtedness off. So those things that you'll have to do before you get there. And each transition has been a little bit different. And this one I think is going to be the most different transition that we've had.
How so?
Very simple. And take Sandy Springs for example. In Sandy Springs, they had no police and fire. So what we had to do was provide them with police and fire, okay? And then once we got there, we got into a legal hassle with them because the money they thought they were going to pay us, they did not consider that you had to send high performance people like battalion chiefs and stuff like that. They make a difference out of salary. So hence came a lawsuit we lost and things of that nature. So you have to take those things into consideration. Now here today, see, once they left under Schaefer, they left all claims to any money. Matter of fact, under Schaefer, the county came out $13 million to the good, all right? But they let you all claims, so what does that mean? That means that the fire and police are now strictly paid for by the citizens of unincorporated Fulton County. And so we don't have to get in there and formulate a police department, or we don't have to get in and get a contract for services. So this is unique for us. We don't have to get in the bed with the county for things of that nature. So those are kind of different in the two transitions.
Following his pattern of transition, talk to me about day one. What's going on?
Day one, you know, I'm very excited about what's going on with the transition team from the state, and I'm also equally excited about what's going on with the transition team with the community. And so we can all look at all these things that we're going to need and find how we're going to provide it to them. Because on day one, we need to have things in place. IT needs to be in place. I know people would tell you, well, you can't do that because you're not sworn in or anything. The election is over March 21st. We take office May 1. We got to have certain things to make, when we push that button at 12:01 midnight, we got to have certain things in place to let it go. And the most important thing is that we're going to have to start paying our employees. If things aren't in place, we can't even write a check on that day. So these things coming from the transition team, the recommendations have to be solid. We have to have them in place, and we have to be ready to push that button at 12:01 midnight on May 1.
You talked about South Fulton being a destination place.
Yes.
And of course, with it being a destination place, people want to feel safe
Sure.
in their community. And with the recent crimes going
Yes.
on in South Fulton, what would you do to increase the response time with the police?
Good question. You know, first of all, let me say this to you. I often wonder what happens in a situation where you have a gas station who has 74 incidences in a year. My question would be, what happened after that 10th one? And at the 74, why must it be so reactionary, okay? Here's what I would do. It's 4 things that the police department is going to have to beef up on. One's going to be management of time, hours. The other is going to be direct patrol. The 4th one would be overt community policing and covert community policing. Before I left, I had a police station on Old National Highway. It was supposed to be a 24-hour police station in order to help deal with the crime on Old National. When I left, now it closes at about 5:30. To help with the response times, I think this. Wherever you have high growth in an area in the city, you actually need a precinct. And I'm not talking about like you have on Camilton Road out there, where you're next to the police station. You know, that's supposed to be a precinct, but it's only just a room with a telephone in it. I'm talking about an actual precinct that will help us with these response times that we're having. I would look at the high growth areas. For example, out there off of South Fulton Parkway, the response time is going to be terrible because it's so far to go. But if we had a precinct there, then it would cut it down considerably. The other thing we have to do is, in terms of crime, is our police department, you know, we've lost, since the city, we've lost 9 police officers. We've had 822 people apply for, was it 800? Yeah, 200 and some odd people apply for the jobs, of which we had 20-some people that we got out of it, all right? So there's 2 things. One, there is recruitment of police officers, and one, there is training. And I know you would say that goes the same. Not in my mind, it doesn't. When a person applies for police, it takes 9 months to get to the point where we actually say we want you, all right? And then after the 9 months, it takes another 12 months to get you through FTO. That's if you pass weekly tests, EVOC, and the gun range. But by the same token, if we're going to look at the recruitment side, we got to go and find certified officers, because we can get them on the street in 60 days when you're talking about almost a year and a half to get a policeman to go. So we look at an aggressive plan of probably bringing in about 25 to 30 police officers a year, because we know honestly that the process for bringing police officers in is long. It's long. So we're going to have to do that. Lastly, police officers working 12-hour shifts. We're going to have to pay more money. Just recently, the sheriff has increased his payroll 3,000 more than PD makes. All right? Yeah, they're going after those PD officers. So we have to increase our salaries. And by increasing our salaries, we're on 12-hour shifts now. So the guys are making a little bit more money. But we increase the salaries, and we're going to have to bring them shifts down to 8 hours.
How do you pay for that?
You pay for it like we do everything else, through property taxes, through commercial practices and stuff like that. And we got to take a good look at the local option sales tax.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying. We have a budget now.
Sure.
And that budget is maxed out, so to speak. So if you're going to add more services, more officers, more precincts, all the other stuff, how do you do that?
Which budget are you talking about?
Well,
the one for the county?
You have a budget that was created by the county for the unincorporated area that is maxed out, and we will have I guess when you guys become mayor, city council, you have to come up with an amendment or whatever to that budget.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about.
What I'm trying to understand is, where do you get the additional money from to do all of the things that you're talking about?
The county is going to give us a 4-month budget, all right? And in that 4-month budget, they're just trying to keep things close. Once we get into office, we deal with things like local option sales tax and things of that nature. And frankly, it's what's most important to us. I think public safety is important. And for us, if we don't get public safety right, we're not going to have economic development, because nobody's going to come in and put in a $400,000 or 400 company in South Fulton where they don't feel safe. It's not going to happen. The other thing that helps that hurts your economic development is your schools, or the perception of the schools are not good. Hurts us. But crime really, really hurts economic development, and it goes hand in hand. So Roger, what I'm saying is, we have to look at that $20-something million that's coming in and other things. We're going to save almost $1 million by not having to deal with the police academy anymore. I mean, our portion of the police academy was right at about $900 and something thousand. Now that we're leaving, that academy will go into the hands of the sheriff's department. and we shouldn't have to pay anything. So there are some savings all over, and once we get through the 4 months of the county budget, or before we get that, we have to look at what we have, and then like anybody, like y'all do at the state or where else, you got to put your money where where it's mostly needed.
So my question is, since we are on the budget,
Sure.
would you consider outsourcing if in fact it would be beneficial to the city budget?
I think the answer to your question is just if it would be beneficial. But that's not a decision as mayor I'm going to make alone, all right? I'm going to have a council. And what we need to do is just put information before people. Here it is. Here's what we have if we stay status quo. Here's what we save if we contract out, all right? Hopefully that I would have enough information about it all that I can articulate it to the city council. But it's going to be the city council job to decide how they want to do it.
So let me give you an example, hypothetically. If we're paying $500,000 for whatever it is,
Sure.
whatever service, and to outsource, we find out that we can pay $300,000 instead of $500,000. Would you then consider recommending that we outsource instead of keeping it in-house?
Well, one other thing to be considered, even though you're saving money, what's the quality of the work that's being done? At the end of the day, a $200 outsource may not get us to the level that we paid a $400 to. I'd have to look. Money isn't everything. We want to save money, but we want a quality product for what we pay.
Look like you're ready to go.
Yeah, she's ready.
Well, just going back to the security and the safety, a lot of the crimes, have been committed by our youth.
Yes.
So what programs would you think to
Sure.
do with
I
the
got
Parks and Recreation?
Yeah.
What type of programs do you have in mind?
Well, they used to call me the youth commissioner.
Okay.
I had 5 youth programs while I was commissioner. I had leadership for boys, leadership for girls, teen dads, and I had the out-of-school suspension program. But let me tell you what we would do. I just got out of a meeting with the superintendent of schools last week, and we were talking about, just he and I, and we were talking about economic development as it pertains to education. And one of the things, when I was commissioner, I had a program called TRIP. It was a Truancy Reduction Intervention Program, which my fellow colleagues on the Board of Commissioners allowed me to do and to be funded. In TRIP, what we did, we took off-duty police officers and we let them ride neighborhoods. And their thing was to pick up children who should have been in school. Our first year at TRIP, we picked up 1,000 children. And we didn't take them home. We brought them to the police station where we had social workers and others to do wraparound services. Called the parents in and they did an exit interview. But those wraparound services were very, very important to us. Do you realize during that time, that program, that neighborhood burglaries went down 17%?
I'm familiar with the program. I'm an attorney.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, neighborhood. So that's what I bring. Those are the kinds of things. I'm working with a local attorney now with his church, and we're looking at the strong possibility of bringing to South Fulton a YMCA. We just need to give them something to do. So I'm all about children's programs and helping them get to the next level.
And how would you plan to pay for that?
I think a couple of ways, all right? Number one is, if it's important to us, then we may collaborate. When I say collaborate, not with just maybe even collaborate with the county and may collaborate with the school system. Because that cut downs on our costs. School system gets 51% of our dollar. So every time we do something that affects the school, we just add more money to them. But I think we can do it collaboratively. And then once again, Roger, when we get our budget and we decide what's important to us. See, it's one thing to say we stop crime that day, but we have to prevent crime as we go in the future. And these are some of the ways that we do it, is to lock hands with our school system, lock hands with our PD, and lock hands with our community.
So I know you understand that the position it says it's part-time.
Sure.
However, on day one, do you feel as though the position for mayor will be a part-time position to get it up and running and functioning at its best? And are you available? Do you have the availability to devote to the position?
In 2000, I became commissioner for Fulton County, and I was also working my insurance business, which I'd been with about 30 years. And I can tell you that that was a part-time job too, they said, but it really was never. I've worked, my staff could tell you when I was commissioner, I worked, some of you all here can say, know this, I've worked 50, 60 hours a week in that part-time job, all right? Yeah, this is said as a part-time, but it's not gonna be. 14 years I was on the board of commissioners. In 14 years, I never missed a meeting. I was there for every critical vote or that came before that commission. I had something to do with it, I did it. So yes, it's not a part-time job, it is not. You're gonna have to be able to put the blood, sweat, tears, and toil into it to get it where it is. And then when you get it where it is, you're still gonna have to work. So yes, I will be available. I will definitely, I'm retired. I will be available.
Okay, so what will you do for seniors? You know, these programs sound good, and I remember some of
Yes.
them over the years and whatnot. But some of the things that we talk about increasing the police and being able to steal policemen from other areas after they've already been trained. So tell me, will you be able to cut the taxes of the senior citizens in the city? Or are you going to increase their taxes along with everybody else? Is how are you going to treat them? Are you going to have a special category for seniors, like you sound like you have had for children, because they all need help? And
No, sure. I've been
doable.
very active with seniors. You know, some of the senior centers that we have in Fulton County that I've had the pleasure of overseeing. There ain't no special categories when it comes to that. We don't charge seniors one tax, we don't charge children another tax. I just think that, number one, seniors want to age in place. They don't want to build on our roads and streets. They don't want to drive. They want to age in place. So what does that mean? That means that we have to provide facilities for them that's affordable, yet they can do everything they want there. Classic example, if I'm a senior and I'm going to my home, I can have amenities like swimming pools. I can have amenities like clubhouses and things of that nature. Because the senior market is growing. It really is. The other thing is, we're going to put some more, we're going to have to encourage the county to put some more money or some upgrading into our senior facilities. Especially, I'll tell you right now, especially Bowden. I just left there last week. There's a infestation there. So we got to make sure that we're working together to make sure our seniors is told. I don't want to raise any tax at all. All right?
So
that's not what I want to do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I want to know for the seniors.
No, for the seniors, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Not gonna raise anybody's taxes. And I think as we go forward, we will look at the issue of bringing taxes down, which is another issue. When in terms of housing, when we bring new developers in, high-end developers, you know, a $400,000 house, $350,000, it pays for itself. Okay, but once you start getting lower than that, I'm not saying that's not a good house, but once you get lower than that, then it's a burden on the government. So we have to have a good mix, Sharon, and even terms of housing to help us to make sure that we maintain our tax level or reduce it.
Bill, you mentioned 3 or 4 times, you mentioned the word economic development.
Sure.
And when my constituents hear that word, sometimes it doesn't resonate because it's at the 50,000 feet elevation.
Yes.
Could you share with us, when you say economic development at the 10,000 foot level, I want to get down to the grassroots. What does that mean, economic development? Is it inclusive? Tell me what does that mean?
It's inclusive of a lot of things, and even inclusive of residential. All right. I think one of the things that we're going to have to face in this new city is the fact that, as all cities, and Sandy Springs is doing it now, that we're going to have to probably learn, if we want to maintain green space and things of that nature, we're going to probably learn to live closer together. That's why you see town centers. I think Sandy Springs is about a $3 billion town center right now they're developing. And then we have to connect that to our commercial end. I think Old National Highway, I mean, it looks terrible, it don't look terrible, but we could be better, all right? I personally think that Old National Highway is Main Street, South Fulton. And if we get in there and put our sweat equity in, that we can make that. So you gotta make Old National look like something different, okay? Ambiance, street lights, sidewalks, things that will attract people and make people feel that they're safe to go in. And then again, we have to teach our people in our communities who are the customers. Because I can bring in a big business, retail business, and give him great price on land and everything else. But when I leave him, he's going to ride around within a 5-mile radius of where he's going to put his store. And from a 10,000 square feet level, I got to see what code enforcement has done. Because if he's riding around and his area, he sees broke cars in the yard, grass not cut, he's going to say to himself, are these my customers? And he's going to probably find someplace else, even though the land was cheap. It doesn't matter anymore. We've been through that. So those are the pieces that you're looking from that level that has to fit in and bring in the economic development.
And you said a $2 billion town, I'm still stuck on a $2 billion town center. You're talking about building a town center for $2 billion?
I'm not, I'm saying Sandy Springs is.
Oh, okay.
No, I said,
Since you did address Old National,
sure.
how, we know that we've lost a lot of businesses
Sure.
on that corridor in the last, I don't know how many years.
Sure.
They have left.
Yes.
So how do you plan to retain businesses
Good question.
that we're going to attract and take advantage of sitting next to the busiest and most efficient airport in the world?
I think your last statement about the airport is a great way for us to use that to promote what we got, all right? Really haven't done that. The other thing is, I was president of Old National Merchants Association for 13 years. And Sharon, you remember when people were moving out, going different stores, when Rich Way was leaving, others was leaving, and we were out there picketing saying, don't go. One thing I learned in 13 years is that money wasn't the only thing, and cost of stuff was not the only thing that drove people away. But the biggest thing that drove people away was service. And that's the absolute fact. Customer service will drive people away. I think we have to educate our communities in terms of if you're coming in being respectful, you pay your money, you want your best goods you can get, but if a store does not treat you right, we need not only talk to the manager, we need to talk to the headquarters of that store and demand that we get good service. Old National, with as many cars that comes through there, that's why I put the police station there, because we need a strong police presence on Old National. When I talk to you about directed patrol, here's what I meant. With the police station on Old National, see, when a police comes to work, his calls of service goes up and it comes down. And then it goes up and it may not come up as high as it was before. When it gets that 40% level where he's not doing that much, then he should be on directed patrol. He should be said, go to the shopping center, park the car, walk the strip. Shake hands and meet everybody. That's why people say we don't have any visibility, because we're not using the direct patrol. So I think we can turn it around. I know we can turn it around. But understand, it's just not government. It's also the people who surround who want these things. You know, when folks say, I don't want no more hair salons, I don't want no more liquor stores. Well, why are we still patronizing them? We got 15 on the street. It's very simple. Let's just don't go. Let's just don't go. They'll leave. And then we'll come in and we'll put something. Then we have to market. We got to have a marketing plan to show people we're all this great city. We need to brand ourselves, having a marketing plan. Listen, we're close to the airport. That's a plus. We were close to the interstate, 285. That's a plus. And we got rail. Those are the three things that push any city. And we have the luxury to have all three of them, and we've got to take advantage of it.
Yes, another question?
You're talking about development. How do you plan on dealing with the commercial zoning that's going on in South Fulton going forward? Because, you know, we have single-family homes and commercial homes. How do you plan to deal with that so there's not industrial backing up to these residential neighborhoods?
Oh, yeah, I don't want to do that. But even before that, the majority of the zonings in South Fulton is agricultural. And that's why you always find ourselves before the zoning board. What we should have done a long time ago in our comprehensive plans is identify where we want to put stuff, all right? And then look at those zonings and all those agricultural zonings that you have in. Let's go back to those landowners and say, look, I need you to rezone this for this purpose because this is what we're going to be able to do. Or this is what we're going to do with the land here. And you can't do anything else. So what happens now is with so much agricultural, you know, it's a one-on-one basis. People come in, I want to put up a warehouse. Well, it's agricultural. Well, okay, let's get it rezoned. But under this plan, you couldn't do it if it's agricultural, and it was an agricultural piece of land. You want to put a warehouse. You got to go over here. You can't go over there. And we must be. And warehouses must be good neighbors. Let me tell you, when I was there, we put in ordinances that if you had a warehouse, we had the dark sky ordinance, where we didn't want no light coming off of the property. That you must be able to look up and see the sky. We put in noise ordinances. We put in buffers and burn ordinances. When you're talking about commercial, if you'll notice, when Walmart came, Walmart about 400 feet off the road because we had buffer standards on the parkway. So I'm saying is, we don't want to turn down a whole lot of business, but some business, even if you come, you got to look like something. Some of them we just don't want to see, and if we don't want to see them, that's why we got berms and buffers. So that's kind of how you would do it. You got to cordon off where you want things to be.
I got a question too. This city is going to be predominantly African American, overwhelmingly, and people are living here now. What do you have in mind to make sure that as this city grows and prospers, that the people who live here have an opportunity to grow and prosper along with the city? And where I'm coming with that, traditionally, people in our community have been denied access to funding for businesses and bonding and all this other kind of stuff. So from a policy standpoint, what kind of things do you envision to make sure that people who live in this community have a chance to grow and prosper with it?
Okay. I think one thing is you hit some of the facts. But I can tell you that the county does give loans.
But we're not the county, we're the city.
I understand. And one of the big holds back to all of us has always been the fact that we can't bond when we do things. We can bond, but we can't bond to the level, all right? I also want to take people who live in the community, and I don't want them to be subcontractors. If they're subcontractors, I want them to grow to be primes. We need more prime, especially African-American primes, to do work, especially live in our community. One other thing I want to do, Roger, is I want to get a business incubator. And we've had that before. The problem has been nobody understood the word incubation because we brought businesses in, they started up, and they never left, all right? I like to bring in for people in our community who want to do business to go into the incubator, which would give them secretarial deals. They'll give them, if you call them, you think they had this one big office, but there's several offices around. And bring in big companies to talk to them about doing business, how to manage business. An incubator for 6 to 8 months. But they would pay rent. But they would have access to all the things they need to function in a business. Now, once they go out of the incubation, then we need to have a program wherein that we can get them into business. All right. So that's my plan. I mean, we got a lot of people in this city who want to do business, don't know how to do business, got great ideas, but can't move it forward. And I'll tell you, an incubator, a business incubator, would help stem that.
You have any last questions?
Yeah, I have one. So I'm just trying to figure out your plan here, because these 7 districts are geographically fragmented due to annexation. So how would you make this city that's going to have a population nearly 100,000 or so feel as one city?
Okay. One thing I think I would do as a mayor, that I would make sure that I would have meetings in every district. All right? Because I want to find out, because you may be in District 5, and your concern may be different than District 4. All right? And once I make sure that where you're coming from is to look at that and see how can I bring cohesion between it. Now, one thing I did as commissioner, I'm going to do again, is that I held listening sessions where I came in, everybody came in, but all the department heads came in, and I just listened. And at the end of the night, if you had an issue, you would go to that department head, the salary, and that department head would report back to me as to what you did on Ms. Jones' issue. That's access. And people want access to their government in that way. So I want to be able to, number one, know what the issues is in each one of them, all right? And just be honest with you, I was a commissioner in this area for years, so I understand a little bit. And then bring those issues together collaboratively and talk about them, and give them the people that access to me and other county and other city officials to say what they have to say.
Okay, we got one last question from me.
Yeah.
When you came in here, you didn't know what we were going to ask.
Right.
Well, I'm assuming you had something in your mind that you said, I hope they ask me this question so that I can get my best stuff out. What is that question that we didn't ask?
No, I think you did. You know, one of the things I've been harking on real hard right now is the issue of crime. And I've been looking at the 20th century model for crime, and I've been trying to figure how we're going to attack that issue, yet have some sense of respectability for ourselves, if you understand what I'm saying.
Make us understand.
Okay. If I say to you, Roger, you're a cowboy, no problem, right? But if I say to you, Roger, you're a cow boy, it's different, all right? You may take offense to the second one, all right? But you're talking about the same thing. So I'm saying is, even though we got to deal with crime, we can't let it bleed over and hurt our economic development. Now, it's not going to happen. I don't think we're going to wave a magic wand and everything's going to be happening in economic development. No. But I think that what we're going to have to look at is that people who are looking at us, all they want to see is progression, that you're going in the right direction. You're coming from down here, you ain't going down here. You're coming from down here and you're going up here. And once we can start turning that around, and people's attitudes about things, and joining hands and be collaborative with the school system. There's too many children out here walking during the day, ain't doing nothing. And nobody is saying anything about them, you know, and they're causing us to have some big issues. So, and then the community people have to understand too that the world ain't the same as when I grew up, where you grew up. You know, they got people, a lot of these crimes we're having are crimes of opportunity. Because if you walk away and leave your iPad on the phone, on the seat, and go somewhere, that's a crime of opportunity. Unfortunately, I hope that you could do that, but unfortunately, you can't do that. And so, if we can bring all the pieces, it ain't the police's fault. It ain't totally the community's fault. You know, it's a big pie that has to come together for us to resolve those issues. So, Roger, I think that for me is one of the things that I've been dealing with the most.
Okay. You guys got anything else? There's one, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, the last question. Why did you decide to run for me?
Okay, listen, it was a tough deal for me because I came out of a race, where people said a lot of cruel things that weren't true. But I knew I loved South Fulton. And I've given most of my adult life to this community. And with the experience that I had of being in government for 14 years, I felt that I wanted to, after talking to my family, praying about it, I felt that that was the kind of experience that we needed, and I put my hand in the ring.
Okay. Anything else? Appreciate it, man.
Thank you, buddy. All right, thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you. All right.
We're gonna go over and take a picture with everybody.
Oh, okay.